Hi, everybody. Welcome to another special edition of the Casino Business Podcast. I'm your host, Craig Shacklett with URComped, and today I've got a very special guest, Robert Christensen, Director of Digital Gaming at Choctaw Casino. For those of you that don't know about Choctaw Casino, it is owned and operated by the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. It's one of the largest tribal gaming enterprises in the United States with more than 20 gaming locations across southeastern Oklahoma, anchored by their flagship resort in Durant, which is not very far from me in Dallas, which recently completed a $600 million expansion and now boasts over 1,600 rooms and 7,400 slot machines. So impressive. It's a beautiful property. Robert, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Craig. Super excited to talk with you.
So your role, Director of Digital Gaming at Choctaw. Tell me about that, because right now, I mean, digital gaming is, tell me about your role, and then we could get into digital gaming, where it's at today.
Yeah, sounds good. So I joined the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma in 2021. I was brought on board to help stand up the Social Casino app, which for those that don't know, Social Casino is essentially a free-to-play casino app where you can play simulated casino games. In addition to that, I helped stand up the commercial digital business, Choctaw Digital, and as part of that, put together the tech stack for a real money iCasino product, as well as an online sportsbook product, if and when sports betting gets passed in Oklahoma or Texas. That was the mandate we were given. So in addition to that, I help with various digital projects across the enterprise, but mainly that's my focus is online gaming.
Got it. And so I'm always kind of confused in Texas. I don't think anything's really legal. I guess you could do a little FanDuel or DraftKings or some daily fantasy, but I get confused with social casino versus sweeps casino versus iGaming versus all these different words that I believe they're all distinct. Some people use them interchangeably. So maybe you can kind of explain to us what social casino is and then what these other things are.
Sure. Yeah. So that's a really good question. There's a ton of distinctions in that space that it does get confusing even for those that work in it. But they get misstated or conflated quite often. So with a true free-to-play app, there would be no monetization of any kind. It would simply be a simulated sportsbook or simulated casino product or simulated table games product that is you get free-to-play tokens on a daily or weekly basis. You cannot purchase any more than that. You have what you have. A social casino product or social sports product, in those ecosystems, you get the same thing. You get free-to-play tokens that can then be exchanged for gameplay. In addition to, in social casino, you can purchase those additional credits. Some products will reward you for purchases made within the application, but none of those in a social casino ecosystem can have cash value. They can't be exchanged for any real money. So it's a true free-to-play social experience. The reason it's called social casino is most of those products started around the time social media became a thing. So it's kind of a misnomer that you need some social element to be a social casino. That's not necessarily the case. From there, in the last couple of years, we've seen a couple of other types pop into the market. So sweepstakes casinos function very similar to social casinos, but in those ecosystems, you can purchase credits, but there's two separate denominations that exist within the ecosystem. You have social credits, and then you have sweeps credits. Those sweeps credits can be sent out and exchanged for a monetary prize or gift, which is where that becomes a gray area issue. Tribes like the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, which I work for, have come out in opposition to sweepstakes casinos, as it's viewed as a means of cannibalizing markets before legalization. And in many states where iCasino or real money wagering is legal, sweepstakes casinos have been banned. So that's an ongoing thing. And then out of sweeps, you have sweep sports as well. So there's some products in the market that look very similar to that. And then from there, you mentioned it, daily fantasy sports. That's another big one. DFS has existed for many years now, but it's sort of taken the form of a like pick'em style game where you can, instead of put teams of players together, you would select certain players and certain achievables throughout the game. and then put them up against other players and their achievables throughout a game. So it looks very similar to a real money parlay, basically.
Mhm.
And so that's been opposed in real money sports wagering states as well. So there's way more than that, I'm sure, that I'm not mentioning. But those are the basic types of online gaming that exist.
And going back to the social casino, just to draw a distinction between sweeps casino and social casino, sweeps, the gray area about it is somebody can deposit $300 and they may get $304 in sweeps credit, which then they can redeem, pull out cash. With these social casinos, is it always the incentive just I've got more imaginary tokens, or can they sometimes redeem things for something that's not cash? Maybe it's a free grill or things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So some operators will allow points to be earned in retail properties if they make purchases, but that's seen as a point earning for purchase. Some, like you said, will send gift certificates out for online services. Some will give free hotel night stays away. But again, these are not monetary cash prizes. It's essentially seen as a gift for purchase.
Okay, so that's helpful explaining difference between sweeps and social gaming. And then maybe one more that seems to be ruffling some feathers is the prediction markets too. That's a new thing that's coming in with places like Kalshi. I know that it seems like I hear more about the California tribes kind of saying, hey, this is not cool. But yeah, maybe you can say how Kalshi factors in, or prediction markets factor in the
So prediction markets are not a new thing, but they're new when it comes to event-based predictions. So Kalshi, you mentioned, they offer a CFTC-backed market where you can go in their platform and predict or vote on the outcome of an event. Traditionally, these were tied to, elections, celebrity type events, crypto valuations, market valuations. It allowed users to kind of participate in that, within that prediction framework. Where it's now become problematic to most in the gaming industry is it's verged onto predicting the outcome of sporting events. Now, these CFTC backed prediction markets are legal federally. So this is what has caused some of the issue. In the United States, since the repeal of PASPA, states have the right to legislate sports on their own. It's not a federally backed thing anymore. So now that prediction markets are federally backed, it's allowed some operators to come into states where sports betting is not legalized yet and begin taking in predictions, or wagers, as they actually are, in my opinion, to predict the outcome of sporting events. Now, some of them, and I won't call out names, but there's some operators in the space who have begun using language like parlay or sporting events. So they're sort of like blending and blurring that line, which is going to create some problems for them. But what's very unique about this is it is federally backed. So it's going to take a while to kind of suss out whether or not it's going to be allowable going forward.
And you touched on federal, and in the scheme of things, there's kind of three levels, right? And correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you got the federal, you've got state, and then you have tribal. And there's a lot of, I don't know, wiggle room is probably not the right word, but there's some maybe tribes or entities that are more willing to push the envelope when it comes to outside their tribal lands and state. And then, so maybe you can talk about what's kind of your Choctaw's position right now when it comes to iGaming, where, like, cause I know off camera in previous conversations, you kind of explained like your strategy right now with on the reservation, and then what you're planning on doing outside the reservation. Then maybe somebody like me in Dallas, where we've got a big population of people that go up to Choctaw, what can they do in a different state when it comes to games from Choctaw?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to speak to that. So our team here at Choctaw, we've been working for the last few years, like I mentioned, on putting that tech stack together for iGaming and for online sports wagering. Initially, it was just for online sports wagering. After PASPA was repealed, everybody in the industry was kind of freaking out. Like, look, there's this massive boon coming. We need to get ready. We need to be ready to go live with sports betting. Every state was talking about doing it. And between 2020 and I would say like 2022, 2023, that rapid adoption and hurry up mindset was in full swing. And so we were right on board with that. So we put together partnerships, platform, everything to get ready for that. In the midst of that effort, the Chickasaw Nation of Oklahoma and the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma received alternate technical standards from the NIGC, stating that Class 2 gaming, which I can pause and explain more about here in a second, Class 2 gaming can be played on customer-owned mobile devices, meaning that in terms of Class 2 tribal gaming, customer-owned devices would be considered any other Class 2 alongside any other Class 2 device. So Class 2 gaming is defined as bingo-based wagering games. These are regulated by tribes under the direction of the NIGC. So the NIGC has a foundational framework from which Class 2 games can operate. And then tribes, each tribe around the country has a tribal gaming regulatory authority, or commonly called gaming commissions, that would then make sure that the tribal operations are governing their Class 2 games within that framework. Periodically, as the technology has evolved, as opportunities have grown, as tribal gaming is now virtually half of the U.S. market, from time to time, TIGRAs, or tribal gaming regulatory authorities, can request alternate technical standards from the NIGC. So they would send a letter requesting an alteration to the regulation. So these alternate standards, the only threshold that they're required to meet is to be as secure or more secure than the existing reg. So it was deemed allowable that customer-owned mobile devices could be classified as Class 2 gaming devices, meaning that tribes can now offer Class 2 slot games, Class 2 bingo, and any other Class 2 game, really, on customer-owned mobile phones. So we pivoted at that point once that alternate standard came in, and we started moving full speed ahead on an iCasino product using all of the same technology that statewide iCasino operators and global iCasino operators use. And we're applying that to a Class 2 framework. So here, hopefully by the end of the year, we'll be live with our product that will let guests play slot machines on their phone while they're here at the resort. That'll be our initial geofence that we're going live with. And but yeah, we're very excited about it. Again, like I said, IGRA was passed. Class 2 gaming became possible for tribal operators around the country. And this was incredibly important, not only for the expansion of gaming, the expansion of revenue, the possibility to offer services to tribal members. So many services that exist within tribal country come from revenue generated at casino operations. So not all of that is super important, but most important is Class 2 and its role with regard to the expansion and protection of tribal sovereignty. Tribes only exist within the sovereign framework that they've been given, and Class 2 is a tool that protects and expands that. So it's critically important that we look to the future and find ways to expand Class 2 gaming beyond just the brick and mortar casinos. So that's been a huge driving force for our team to stay focused on this effort as well.
And for people that aren't familiar with that term, compacted, explain what a tribal compact would be with the state. What does that mean?
Sure. So federally speaking, once IGRA was passed, tribes had the right to operate Class 2 games within the framework of the NIGC, as I explained. However, other types of gaming, Class 3 gaming, would be your traditional table games or your traditional slot machines, sports wagering, right? Those type of games needed to be compacted with the state in order for tribes to operate them. Some states don't allow it even to this day. And so there's a wide variety of legislation that exists within individual states. So there could be some states where there are either limits on the number of Class 2 games that exist within that state compact. There could be a limit on how many tribal casinos can operate Class 2 games within that compact. So it varies dramatically from place to place.
Got it. So with the IGRA, we said IGRA, Indian Gaming
Regulatory Act.
Okay, so the IGRA or IGRA, Indian Gaming Regulatory Act, and that was when the federal government basically ruled like, hey, these are sovereign nations, they can have gaming. But at the time, at the federal level, when this act was passed, it was class 2 only. And so at
Correct.
that point, every
And
tribe,
it still is class 2 only. That it governs the tribe's ownership and operation of class 2 gaming. Now, if tribes want to expand beyond that into class 3, that would require oftentimes a state compact or a state gaming commission to approve that.
got it. Okay, so the federal government essentially said, hey, through this IGRA, hey, you guys are all sovereign, you're free to do class 2 gaming. But then if casinos, tribal casinos want to offer more, like craps or table game, games beyond class 2 slots, then they need to have a compact with the state that says, okay, we're going to offer this, and then that's a negotiation between the tribe and the state, and it's generally like a percentage of gaming revenue or something like that that goes to the state.
Yeah, and so what sort of how this all started, IGRA was passed in 1988, and so at that point it was focused solely on bingo, right? Because tribes operated class 2 bingo games. That was the federal framework from which they were working. And as I spoke earlier about the evolution of technology and operations, class 2 bingo games over the years have changed dramatically to where they look and feel just like regular slot machines at this point.
So, Robert, I know here in the US, iGaming is still kind of trailblazing, still a bit of the Wild West, but in other jurisdictions like Europe, they've been doing online gaming for a long time. Do you look to them for, I don't know, like how do you treat them? Is it kind of like, all right, we'll figure it out on our own. We're Americans, we got this, or do you look to them as to learn from?
Yeah, no, great question. So I've been really fortunate enough to have been given the chance here at Choctaw to start this effort out from the learner's point of view. So from go, it was important to me to reach out and start developing relationships with both European suppliers and European operators who have been active in this space for a long time. All of the technology when it comes to player account management systems, sportsbook platforms, even down to the regulatory compliance tools, much of this technology and much of this operational intelligence exists overseas. So it was critical for us and our team to get to know these folks and partner with many of them to put our stack together. So I think going forward for the industry to grow as we all hope it does, it's going to be critical for us to strategically align as operators, as regulators, and as suppliers. And that means international alignment. So because most of these folks and most of these teams work overseas. And so it's okay, as all of the American operators out there, sometimes you're going to have to take calls at 3 a.m. It's okay. We can do it. Like, we'll survive. It's worth it just to be able to work with teams that have so much knowledge and experience and really dig into the technology that they've developed over the years. It's been one of the, if not the most rewarding part of my job over the last few years, is getting to know these folks and these teams and learning from them first and foremost, and then working alongside them.
Now, was that something that you, like when you came into this role, you're like, okay, they're doing it in Europe, I'm going to reach out and find these folks? Or did a lot of these European companies realize, hey, we got to get in the American market, and they're knocking on your door to try to get in front of you?
At first, it was us reaching out to them. You know who you are if you're listening. There's been a handful of European suppliers over the years that I contacted early, either through RFPs or through just general Q&A. That in the initial meeting was like, hey, have you guys looked at class 2 development? And they're like, what's class 2? We've never heard of that. So it took several months of these conversations, if not years, to kind of get a few suppliers on board with the idea of class 2. And as the years have gone by, it's now flipped to where we're getting calls from folks all over the world, and it's exciting, to be honest. I'm not prideful enough to say that I caused it by any means, but I feel very humbled and fortunate to be able to be involved in these discussions to help folks understand the opportunity that's in front of us. And selfishly, I get to make really good friends that in no other circumstance would have ever met any of these people. So
where do you see things playing out? We opened up talking about this, the iGaming and the prediction markets and sweeps and all these things coming in where people are, there's a lot of companies making a lot of money operating in a gray area. How do you think things will play out over the next few years? Do you think this is going to go to the Supreme Court ruling on something? Is it going to be a state by state thing, or what are your predictions for how the online gaming world plays out?
Yeah, so I think the gray market operators are going to be regulated out, but at the state level. I don't see a circumstance where the federal government would just make a sweeping regulation. We've been down that path before, and we've moved on from it. I don't think that's going to happen again. But what I do see as a necessary step before we get to that point where we can start, you probably tell by how I'm talking which side of the aisle I fall on this. But there's something that needs to happen first before we see a lot of these gray market operators being pushed out. So first and foremost, we've seen the expansion of sports betting and online sports betting kind of take the nation by storm. Most states at this point have it. And it was assumed at that time, 2019, 2020, 2021, that iCasino or online casino games would follow suit, that we'd see the sweeping push of legislation. Currently, there's only 7 states in the US that have legal iGaming, and it has slowed down. So why is that? There's a lot of hesitancy when it comes to responsible gaming, right? As there should be. As operators in the space, we should always be seeking to act responsibly. And so it's taken some time to help people, help regulators, help operators, help owners understand that the technology that exists within iGaming is extremely secure, and the amount of data that exists within these products and in these systems is robust beyond what exists in the retail space. So as regulators, operators, and industry people have come around to this thinking, I think we'll see the growth of iGaming. Now, what's unique about now, and this is, sorry, I'm slow to get to my point, but what I think is going to happen next, and what I'm hoping happens next, selfishly, is tribes like Choctaw and others in the space will take this opportunity to expand iGaming into states where it currently doesn't exist. So for us, that's our focus. As this happens more and more and more over the next couple of years, we'll see the expansion of iGaming go outside of the state houses and to the local levels, and it will force states to take another look at it. And as that expands, we'll start seeing some of these gray market operators be forced out, because those are the only states where they have been forced out, is in states that have legal iGaming and legal online sports wagering. So that's my hope. The other piece of this that I find really interesting is we're seeing legacy suppliers in the casino space sort of get on board with this, and which is really, really exciting. They have the bandwidth to provide technology and managed services and tools that are useful for casinos, small, medium, and large, right? And so it's going to get easier and easier to get access to this technology for where before, even when we started on this project, it was like a needle in a haystack trying to find relevant tools to piecemeal together. And then once that's all done, once it becomes easier, we see more operators come into space. We're seeing these gray market operators being forced out. The exciting and enjoyable content that exists in iGaming is going to blow people's minds. And for those that live in iGaming states or live overseas and have participated in some of these live dealer games that exist and some of these new game mechanics that exist, they already know what I'm talking about. But for those that don't, you haven't seen the greatest casino games that have ever existed. They exist and they're coming. So I'm very excited for the future of our industry.
Well, that's really interesting. I know we wouldn't be able to do it just as just words. You got to see it. But I mean, you say these new games, it's are they different than slot machines? These are most like hybrid table games, or what's kind of so cool? What are you excited about with these iGaming?
So for me personally, I'm a huge fan of live dealer games. And traditionally speaking, live dealer would be viewed as just, a dealer standing at a table, flipping cards over, and you're playing from your phone or your computer at home. But there's certain suppliers in the space that have done a tremendous job at evolving these games and these types of content to where it feels and looks as high quality as a Hollywood game show, and you're playing alongside with the dealer. It's amazing. And so that's where we're going to get to. Who knows how long it's going to take to do that, to where we see those types of games widely spread across the United States. But that's my hope. And then game mechanics, I mean, there's so many interesting things happening. Even in traditional iCasino slots, you see cascading wins. You see other types of mechanics that haven't existed in the retail space that exist popularly online, and people really enjoy them. So hopefully we see the proliferation of a lot of that stuff.
Well, I feel like I got a master's level course in the iGaming world and the legalities behind it. I think it's so fascinating. I'd be remiss though, it's the Casino Business Podcast, and I'm a casino marketer. I know you've got a strong background in casino marketing. I would love to get your opinion on what you see as the differences in marketing a brick and mortar retail property. Like Choctaw does such a great job. I can't throw a rock without hitting a Choctaw billboard or see something cool down here in Dallas. Versus iGaming. What do you see as some of the challenges? What's the same? What's different?
Yeah. So speaking of the Choctaw marketing and branding, we have the best brand and partnership team in the business. I'm convinced they do a tremendous job. And so the mandate that I try and live up to is, protect that effort, making sure that everything we do on the online side is perfectly in line with that. And we've done a good job. And that takes partnership building internally as well, if you know what I'm saying. So it can be difficult in an organization our size to strategically align when you're focused on entirely different parts of the business, right? So we've worked really hard. Both the marketing team and our digital team have worked really hard to make sure we're aligned. So that's something I want to throw out there. But as far as what's different between traditional retail casino marketing versus iCasino marketing, I think from a retail perspective, casino marketing is traditionally viewed as like relationship marketing, right? And you work with VIPs, Craig, all the time, so you understand this way better than I do. It's about providing value for those guests, right? Making sure as casino operators and marketers, we're giving them that little extra when they come in, right? Making sure that they feel taken care of, that they're a part of the family, that they feel like it's a home away from home. In iCasino and in online sportsbook, it's slightly different. That relationship is important. You want to make sure that they feel loyal to your brand. However, it's much more analytics driven. The level of data that's available within player account management systems, CRM tools, and honestly, SDK level integrations is tremendous. It allows us to look at solutions that utilize automation and AI in ways that would not be possible within the retail casino environment. So, for instance, I would say within the next 5 years, it would be highly likely that if I'm a casino player, I walk into a retail casino, I look around and I see the same slot layout that I see every time I go in. But if I open up my iCasino app, it is perfectly tailored to my preferences automatically without me even suggesting anything to it. Simply by my interaction with the product, it's going to be robust enough to adapt to you. So that's something that I feel like is unique. But I would say the common ground, which I think is more important than the differences, is there seems to be this fear and anxiety that traditional casino operators and marketers and iCasino operators and marketers kind of inflict on each other. We're always afraid that we're going to cannibalize each other or destroy each other's businesses. And while in some cases that may have happened and may be the truth, but what we're striving to do here is create a mindset and a product that exists as an amenity to our existing business. iCasino, online sports wagering should be seen as something that's added to an existing casino brand. It's not something that should take away from it. So that, like I said at the start of this section, it's important to live up to the brand that you're representing. It's important to be aligned with your marketing folks. It's important, just as vitally important, if not more important, to be aligned with your operations teams and make sure that they understand and that we understand that we're trying to add something of value to what is already being done. It's not meant to replace. It's not meant to change. It's simply to provide more opportunities for play to those guests that come in through the doors.
Well, Robert, this has been so interesting, so fascinating. The world in this space is changing really fast. So I hope we can talk again soon and you can
Yeah.
give us the update, because the way you articulated it made a lot of sense for somebody like me who's heard a lot of these words before, but I wasn't really sure how they all piece together. So thank you for that. That was awesome.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. Robert Christensen, Choctaw Casino. Robert, if people want to connect with you, you're on LinkedIn. Is that the best way for people to find you?
Yeah, sure. Yep. And my email's there as well. So feel free to reach out. We're always happy, especially to talk with other tribal operators who are looking into Class 2 mobile. Feel free anytime to reach out.
Thank you, Robert. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Put in the comments if there's any questions you wish I asked Robert. Put in the comments, and maybe the next time we do this, we'll get to those. All right. Thanks again, Robert.
Thank you.